Great.
Okay.
So, Yasmin,
Yes.
tell me, why was Bridging the Gap so important to you?
Yeah. Bridging the Gap was an amazing scheme for me because I took part in it in a time in my career, well actually before my career. It was after I was a student. I'd done a master's in visual anthropology and I wanted an experience to make another film, and it was a great opportunity to do so, but with support, making a creative documentary. It was the first time I developed a project proposal in a particular way. It was the first time I worked with producers. It was the first time I saw a film distributed kind of widely. So it was a really important stage in me getting my confidence to basically continue making films and, importantly, making them in creative ways and not just in formatted templates, basically. I think schemes like Bridging the Gap are really important because they give an opportunity to people to really learn in a safe environment, skills that they might not have, to take risks that they might not have the possibility to in other situations, and to also find their voice. And I think a scheme like this one was great because it did actually give you confidence to try, and obviously it's great to be successful, but it wasn't, I didn't feel pressure that you have to succeed in this particular way. It was just, make a good film and we'll help you get there. And I think that really helps you get the confidence to keep going, as well as the skills. I guess when I did Bridging the Gap, it was the first time I was a director on a film with producers. So it was, the previous film I just did everything. I learned by myself. I tried to figure stuff out. And I guess it gave me the distinction of thinking oh, I'm focusing on this and I can do it in the vision I have, And again, it's back to do with confidence. It gave me the confidence to say, this is my vision and this is how I'd like it to happen. I think I feel like I was lucky because after Bridging the Gap, about a year later, I did a practice-based PhD at Edinburgh University. And although that wasn't a scheme, it was kind of a safe or, easy space from which I could basically experiment and take risks and also have the time and space to make a long film. It was my first long film. And through that, I learned, through mistakes as well, how to make a long film. But I think when you make a long film, you realize you need to see films differently, rhythmically, how you tell stories might be different. So I think, having an opportunity to do that in a space where I had support was really great. But then after that, I've been doing it kind of more openly, just for TV or for commission, and developing my own projects. And that's always challenging, but the fact that I'd done a long film in a supportive environment helped me make more films, after that. So, it was interesting. So my first broadcast film was actually for Al Jazeera, and it was with a poet, so we could be, a little bit more creative in our approach than a regular news program, which ends up being on Al Jazeera. But the process was interesting. It made me realize that, and then I've done something subsequently for BBC Arabic, is to appreciate the different mediums and the different formats, because not every film or every subject will suit maybe a broadcast format, and some will, and some maybe will bridge both. So my last film, called Queens of Syria, it first went to broadcast with BBC Arabic, and the template or the format was quite different to what I normally do. It had a BBC voiceover. The way you told the story, the timing of the story was done in a different way. But I realized that this was a good output for it because it could reach quite a lot of viewers. But having the opportunity to tell it in a different way was also really nice, because then you can experiment with it. So I think my experience making longer films and films for broadcast was just to appreciate that there's different approaches and they're not all bad. There's different reasons for doing the different approaches sometimes. So just being open to them and not scared of them. Yeah. The film I made with Bridging the Gap, Breadmakers, that film, screened at lots of festivals, and it's kept screening since. And I think meeting people through festivals definitely makes networks and relationships with people who maybe invite you to more screenings. But I think seeing your film at a festival and talking to people, you do realize the potential impact of the work that you do. You're making a film, but you also hope that it reaches people for whatever reason, whether it's to share a story or an issue. So I think that contact is really important because that's ultimately why you're making a film. You want people to see it, you know, and getting the confidence and going in front of an audience and speaking to them, again, you get just by starting out maybe with a small film and getting around and then feeling able to speak about your work and also the subjects you're filming. But also with documentaries, I mean, you're working with real people, you know, so it's important to keep those relationships there, you know, and if you're sharing someone's story, I think there is a responsibility as well to continue that, you know. People open up their lives to you sometimes, so you want to take that as far as you can with sharing it with others. So, yeah.
And now you've done 2 feature films, so does it get any easier?
That's the hardest question. I think it does sometimes and it doesn't others. So I think the thing that's easier is I understand the process a lot better, like how you start and finish a film, the elements that are involved in it. You maybe can try to visualize the problems you might have, you know, which I never would have been able to imagine before. But the difficult thing is still the creative challenge, because you still have to work out how you're making a film, how you're telling a story, how you're funding it, because it's not going to be the same each time, who you're working with, finding the right team. All those things are challenges, but I guess maybe it's important to see them as positive challenges, because you need to figure them all out to make this thing happen, and make a film, basically. So yeah, some things are easier, some things aren't, but it's still a good project. The things I've learned that I've really got a lot out of over the years is definitely keep making films. Like, don't lose faith, because sometimes some things take a long time, and if you really want to make them happen, you will find a way. So just being patient sometimes. I recently started renting studio space in a shared studio with other independent filmmakers, and actually being in an environment where I'm just not working on my own or just in a production house for a specific project is really good, because you can share ideas, you can skill share, you know, you can, if you're stuck on something, you know, people actually understand what you're talking about. It's not like a friend who's maybe doesn't know anything about filmmaking. So that's been very, very positive. And then sometimes projects come your way through that. You don't know, because you're around and you're sparking ideas off each other. And I think also, you know, just watching films, like, don't forget to watch films. I noticed I did forget to watch films because I was working on films. I just lost my interest, you know. So still watching films, and also finding the balance. I mean, the hardest challenge is really, you know, making a living and making films independently. So just trying to strike the balance of making that happen. There's no magic answer to that, but it's, you know, part of the challenge. But it's, you know, just keep going as well. I think you have to be very patient sometimes, but yeah.
Great, that's it.
That's it.
Thanks, Yasmin.
Cool, it's all right. I hope I covered.
Yeah, it was fine.